fun. You're the winner right now. That's where the excitement begins. So cash in your fever. Be a believer with the Cleveland Indians.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November 7th, 2018 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Shirer, publisher and editor of the Lake County Sentinel. We have got a busy show tonight. We have our usual sports and politics talk. Lots to talk about on both fronts tonight. We have 5 different things to talk about in sports, 6 different things to talk about in sports, because tonight is the debut of our fantasy sports report. We're going to talk about fantasy sports also in our sports segment tonight. I am a big fantasy sports player. I know there's a lot of people out there who play fantasy sports. So we're going to delve into that subject a little bit too in sports. And then in the politics portion of our show tonight, we're going to talk about last night's election results. Depending on where you stand, there were some positives and there were some negatives. And also we're going to talk about some of the other political things that happened today. So, but let's start off with the Cavs. They're just about ready to tip off in about 8 minutes. They're going to tip off tonight and play the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are 5-4, and they play in the Western Conference. And 5-4 is really not going to get you very far in the West. You'll be probably the 8th seed if you have a record around 500 in the West. You might not even make it in the West. The Cavs are 1-9. They do have the worst record in the NBA, 100 winning percentage. They're 1-3 under Larry Drew. We found out earlier today that, or was it late last night, that forward Sam Decker, is out for 4 to 6 weeks. He was injured in the the game against the Charlotte Hornets, and he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That's too bad, because he was one of the bright spots. He shows some potential early on here, so it's a shame that he's injured and now he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That's too bad. Then we'll move on. Now we have the Lake Erie Monsters battle for first place tonight. They will be facing in Rochester, New York. They're going to face the Rochester Americans. The Americans are in first place in the division with 17 points and 8-3-1 record. The Monsters are in second place with a 7-4-1 record and 15 points. So if the Monsters were able to go in to Rochester tonight and defeat the Americans, they would come home in first place. So very positive for the Cleveland Monsters. As I said, I've been told that they should have a very good team this year, and it looks that way at this point, that they have a good team. And go out and support them. Their next home game is Friday night at 7 o'clock at the Q. They play two days in a row against the Laval Rocket, which is the affiliate, I believe, the affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens. So the Monsters will be home against them on Friday and Saturday. Tonight, like I said, though, tonight is battle for first place in Rochester against the Americans. If they can win that game tonight in Rochester, they come home this weekend in first place. They will be in first place in their division. So that's a real good thing. It's not like the Monsters are a bad organization. The Monsters are good, have been a good team. Obviously, they're the minor league affiliate of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, they're a good they're fun to watch. I've never heard a person who's gone to a Monsters game that said they didn't have a good time. So there we go. The Monsters have a chance at getting into first place tonight. If they could defeat the Rochester Americans, that game could be starting any minute here. And then we have also home on Friday and Saturday, the local minor league hockey club, the Mentor Icebreakers. They are home Friday and Saturday, also at 7 o'clock, against the Watertown Wolves at the Mentor Ice Arena. The Icebreakers are off to a bit of a slow start. They're 0-3. It's been a tough start for them. They, a brand new franchise, and they just got to get things going here. They've scored 5 goals. They've given up 17 in 3 games, which is an awful lot for hockey. But it's also a very good experience going to a Monsters or to an Icebreakers game at Mentor Ice Arena, and I think that you should check it out. Support our local teams. And like I said, Friday and Saturday, both nights at 7 o'clock at the Mentor Ice Arena, and they play the Watertown Wolves. I believe the Watertown Wolves, I'm not 100% sure of this, so don't quote me on it, but I believe that the Watertown Wolves are also an expansion team in the Franklin Hockey League. So this could be it. This could be a chance for, maybe wins, maybe a win or two. So we'll have to see. But hopefully, maybe this weekend will be the weekend where the Icebreakers break the ice and get a win, get some points. That would be a great thing if they could notch their first wins at home in front of the hometown crowd on 6/15 in Mentor. That would be great. So go Icebreakers. Now let's move on to the injury portion of our broadcast tonight. It is the off-injured Cleveland Browns. More injuries for the Browns. We have E.J. Gaines and Christian Kirksey put on the IR for the rest of the season today, season-ending IR, and that's a big blow to the Browns defense. But you know what? That's why you have to have depth. These injuries happen. They happen to every team. But Browns fans believe that they're the only team that has injuries. So, and every team in the NFL has injuries, Browns fans. Okay? Let's understand that. I feel bad for Christian Kirksey because he's really made a mark with the Browns. I think he's a really good linebacker. And, with Joe Schobert being out, he's had to step up. Jamie Collins, to me, has been a huge disappointment and a bad signing. And I feel like John Dorsey will jettison Jamie Collins at the first chance he gets. I truly believe that. I just don't think that Jamie Collins has been that big of a contributor to the Browns. And these injuries hurt. They signed a few players today to replace. They signed a defensive back, Justin Burris. Then they signed two other defensive backs, Philip Gaines and Jermaine Whitehead. Burris, who they announced that signing when they announced they were putting the two on the injured list. Burris has appeared in 34 games in his career with 2 starts. He was originally a 4th-round selection of the Jets. He had been on the practice squad since October 27th. He has registered 28 tackles in his career, broke up 7 passes, and has 2 interceptions. He really hasn't seen a lot of time. So, yeah, the stats aren't impressive, but hey, you never know. You give a guy a shot, and you never know what could happen. Maybe the guy will end up being something. They also signed Aaron Springs to the practice squad and released Jake Eldernkamp from the practice squad. Eldernkamp was a offensive lineman. Springs is a rookie out of Oregon. He originally signed as an undrafted free agent with the Chiefs, interestingly. And he spent 4 weeks on the Browns practice squad this season. So he spent time also on the Chiefs and the Saints practice squad this year. He's from San Antonio, Texas. So those were some moves earlier this morning that the Browns announced. And then later in the day, they announced that they had signed 2 more defensive backs. Philip Gaines, they claimed them off waivers. Philip Gaines, they claimed him off waivers from Buffalo. And then they signed defensive back Jermaine Whitehead off waivers from Green Bay. And that, that was this afternoon. And they waived defensive back Denzel Rice. So it was kind of busy out there in Berea today. Gaines, he's 6 foot, 193 pound defensive back in his 5th season out of Rice. He was originally drafted by the Chiefs in 2014 in the 3rd round. He's appeared in 48 games with 22 career starts, 126 tackles, and 16 passes defensed, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. And then you got Whitehead. He's a 5'11", 195-pound defensive back in his 3rd NFL season. He's out of Auburn. He was originally signed as an undrafted free agent by the San Francisco 49ers in 2015. He appeared in 19 games with the Packers from 16 to 18. He has 17 total tackles, 2 passes defensed, and 1 sack. He appeared in 7 games with 2 starts this season with the Packers. He's a native of Greenwood, Mississippi. Gaines is from Concord, Massachusetts. Rice, who was released today, he had appeared in 8 games this season. He had 1 interception and 3 special teams tackles. So the Browns released him this afternoon. So, like I said, a lot of moves for the Browns today, a lot of injuries. The good news is that Joe Schobert is nearly ready to come back. Having Joe Schobert back will really help the team this week against Atlanta. I mean, let's face it. Atlanta is just a little less of a problem offensively than the Chiefs. With Matt Ryan, he's Matt Ryan. You don't even really have to say anything about him. And then you have, Julio Jones, who seems to enjoy playing well against the Browns when he faces them. The Browns pretty much said, well, we don't need Julio Jones. And didn't draft him when they could have, which was a mistake, but we won't get into that. But I think that the Falcons' offense is really good. But Matt Ryan can be stopped. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say Matt Ryan can be stopped. I think Matt Ryan is one of those guys that if you get to him early in the game, I think this is what separates Matt Ryan. And this is what separates Matt Ryan from guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. That's what separates Matt Ryan. If you get to him early in the game, you got him. He's not going to be effective. Where those other guys, Breeze, Rodgers, Brady, they recover. So, if the Browns can somehow get to Matt Ryan early in the game, they have a good offensive line. But if they can get to him early in the game, I think they could possibly, hold their offense to, well, let's say they hold the Falcons' offense to 28 points. Can they score 28 points? I don't know. Falcons' defense is not as good as it has been in the last few years. So, can they score 28? I don't know. So maybe basically what we're hoping again is just to keep it within 10 points and make it not look like they got their heads beat in. So that's what I see out of Browns camp at this point. Let's go to the fantasy sports part of the show now. I know that a lot of people play fantasy sports. It's very popular. I love it. I have teams in leagues, just in leagues that are actual teams, not pick'em leagues or anything like that, but teams. I have 15 different teams in 15 different leagues. And I have 5 baseball teams. I have 5 football teams. I have a NCAA football team, fantasy football team. I have 2 hockey teams in 2 different leagues. I have 2 basketball teams in 2 different leagues. My son has a basketball league and I have a basketball league. I'm the 2 hockey leagues I'm in. I have a hockey league that was started by Justin Latta. He got busy with work and his life, so he turned it over to me at second year. And the first year of the league was the year of the lockout strike, whatever that was. And it was the year the NHL played 48 games, and the league name is Lord Stanley 8 in 48 games. And I've not changed the name, and I don't think we should. I like the name. But that league has grown from the original of 8 teams in 2 divisions to 12 teams and 3 divisions is what we now have in that league. And that league is very, very, very competitive. It's a great league. It's one of my favorite leagues that I'm in fantasy wise. It's funny is I like the league because it's so competitive. Excuse me. What I like, what I mean competitive is people pay attention. Okay, people pay attention in the league, and that's what you want. You don't want to be in a league. What satisfaction does it give you if nobody pays attention in the league and you win the championship? Who cares? Big deal. What'd you do? So what? Nobody paid attention. I won. Wow. But this league, just in the division I'm in, we have 4 teams in my division, and they were the top 4 playoff teams last year. That's how I make the divisions in my fantasy leagues. I put the playoff teams together from the year before, so they have to battle each other then the next year to make the playoffs. Plus, it gives the newer teams and the teams that didn't succeed the year before, it gives them the chance to make the playoffs. So my league, or my division, the division I'm in my hockey league, Lord Stanley in 48, is, very competitive. There have been 6. The league we're now in our 7th year. There have been 6 champions in this league, And 5 of the 6 champions are in this division. Okay. I won the last 2. A team that is also in the division called the Lake Erie Avalanche. They won the 2 before I did. And then the team before that, which was formerly the Florida Sea Devils, which it's no longer called that. My son had that team then. It's been taken over by another owner. And that team won a championship also. So 3 of the 4 teams in the division have won a championship. And so far, we're in the 5th week of the season. And so far, there have been 75 transactions or moves within just our division. So it's a very competitive league. I enjoy this league. The hockey, I don't know a lot about hockey, but I think if you pay attention to stats, you can do well in a league that you don't really know a lot about the league. I mean, football, fantasy football is a sport. I think that was the first fantasy sport was football. Like I said, I've got 5 teams in that, and I really enjoy fantasy football. I take pride in my teams, and I'm on all different kinds of teams. I'm in a league that's low points. I don't do very well in that league right now. I won the league 2 years ago, but I'm not doing really well in it now. I didn't make the playoffs in it last year. That's a low point league. Then I'm in a medium point league that I got in probably 6 years ago. Oh, bad news here. I was looking, see the Cavs. I see Jetty Osmond left the Cavs game. It looked like he was holding his lower back. That is not good. So hopefully we'll get an update on that soon. They're down 12-7 with 6 minutes left in the first quarter. So let's hope that they can get the score closer and Osmond isn't hurt bad. But getting back to the fantasy sports, the football. So in the medium point league that I'm in, I won that league 2 years ago, but then last year I didn't make the playoffs. I won the championship, and then I was 8th out of 12 teams. So neither of those leagues do you keep players. And then I'm in the other 3 leagues. One is a league run by my son, and there's 6 teams in the league only. It's a very high point league. It's definitely the highest point league I'm in. And it is a very interesting league. Quarterbacks are definitely the key to that league. And if you have good quarterbacks, you're gonna do well. So that's what that is in that league basically. You have good quarterbacks, you're gonna do well. And I have Pat Mahomes, Matt Ryan. I can't remember who else I have in that league. I think I have Deshaun Watson. But then we have my league, which I've not done well. I've not done great in my league. This is the 6th season for my league, my fantasy football league. And I've not been great. First season I finished in 6th place. Second season I finished in 5th place. Then the 3rd season I did finish in 2nd. And we have always been a keeper league. We increased keepers throughout the years, and now we're at where you keep 24. So I finished 2nd in 2015. Then I fell back to 5th in 2016. Then last year I finished in 6th. But this year I am 9-0 through the first 9 weeks of the league, which is, I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I'm in, 9-0. That doesn't mean anything though. I went 13-1 the year I finished in 2nd. So that was, what good did that do me? Not didn't win me the championship. So, and I haven't had to make a lot of moves this year either. There are only 2 teams in the league that have made less moves than me. So I think that, some years you don't have to make moves. There's years you don't. I remember a league a long time ago, probably the early 90s. I made 1 move all year. My kicker had a bye. That was it. And I won the league. And then there's some years where you got to make 50 moves. So, but that's what makes fantasy sports fun, because you get to be the general manager, and then you get to name the teams what you want too, which I enjoy that. I like coming up with different names. Like my basketball teams are named after the original Cleveland basketball team, the Cleveland Rosenblums. Rosenblum's department store. The original Cleveland basketball team in the 20s was named after the department store. They were the Cleveland Rosenblums. That's the name of both of my teams, and then my team logo for both of them is the Cleveland Rebels logo, which was Cleveland's original NBA team back in the inaugural season of the NBA. So I like to do that kind of stuff. I think that it's fun. And then I think the most unique league I'm in is my 5th football league that I'm in, that I started last season. And it's a fun league because it's definitely unique. It's called the Wycliffe Defense League. And we only have defensive players and a team defense. We have a team defense and defensive players. Our roster consists of, the team defense, where you pick a team defense. You start one team defense every week. And then you also have one defensive player position, which can be any position on the defense. And then we have 3 linebackers, play the 4-3 defense. Excuse me. We have 3 linebackers, 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. And then you have 5 bench positions. This league is very, very interesting and different because also it's not a head-to-head league. Points just add up from year to year. So, or from week to week. So that's how that goes. And I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting league. And I think if you have a chance to get in a league like that, I highly recommend it, because I truly enjoy it, and I don't think I've had a person who said they don't enjoy being in it. Everybody has come back, and it's a fun league. But that's just my opinion, and I think it. I really would like to. I'd like to get more people to be in it too. If I could get more people to be in it next year. Right now we're at 8 teams. We started last year with 7. We're at 8. Last year I finished in 6th place out of 8. This year I'm in 1st place. It's a keeper league. You can keep 11 or your 15 roster spots. So, that's how that league goes. But that's pretty much all the time we have tonight for the sports portion of our show. I did not get to talk about the Indians like I was going to. Oh my gosh. People who say I'm the biggest Indians honk ever, they'd be horrified by this, that I did not talk about the Indians. But we'll talk about the Indians a little more tomorrow. And the Corey Kluber, Carlos Carrasco rumors with the Yankees, and what I say should happen, what I think should happen, So that'll be on tomorrow's podcast, which will be a half hour. Tuesday and Thursday are going to be half-hour podcasts. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will be an hour. But now we're going to go to after this short break, we will discuss politics and the election and the future of our country. Welcome to the second half hour of the Lake County Sentinel Podcast for November 7th, 2018. This will be the political portion of our podcast. We're going to talk about election results. In my mind, some were disappointing and some were very positive. And, what has happened in the day after, and who has said what in the day after, and what's ahead in the next 2 months and months after that, where it could get very interesting. So here we go. I was very happy to see that Sherrod Brown was reelected in the Ohio Senate race. There was no other choice. Jim Renacci he's just a guy that has his own agenda in mind, and he doesn't really care about anything else or anyone else. The guy ran to help his businesses, to change laws to help his businesses. That's why the guy ran for Congress. And now it's glad that he's out of there now. He's not a congressman anymore, and he's not a senator anymore. So, good riddance, Jim Renacci. Thankfully, Sherrod Brown won the Senate seat and gets to serve our country and Ohio and do good work for the next 6 years. Because he seems to do the good work, and he cares about the working man, which is needed in Ohio, right? Isn't that what built Ohio? The working man? The guy that goes out and works hard, that's what Sherrod Brown fights for. And so he can do that now for 6 more years. And a bit of a surprise to me, Mike DeWine stays alive in politics in Ohio for 4 more years. He defeated Richard Cordray in a pretty close race, but really, if you look at the numbers in the end, he defeated him pretty handedly. So it's kind of surprising. He beat him by 4%. I believe it was 50-46, which to me that's a pretty big margin, considering I thought Richard Cordray was going to win this thing. I was somewhat surprised that Mike DeWine won the race. But you know what? He ran the better campaign. Was it the more honest campaign? No, probably not. Because I don't think Mike DeWine really believes in honesty. Mike DeWine likes to fight dirty and not be honest. I think there are a lot of things in this campaign that were dishonest. And hey, if that works for you, and you can wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, and you're good with yourself, being dishonest, like Mike DeWine, his campaign was, then fine. I guess to them, winning is what matters. It's not, doing it the right way. And of course, in politics today, I guess the only way is to fight dirty. And that's sometimes I have a problem with Democrats. They don't fight dirty enough. So Mike DeWine, he beat Richard Cordray. You can't take that away from him. So he's going to be our governor. He's going to take Mike DeWine's, or he's going to take John Kasich's place on January 1st in the State House in Ohio. And well, I guess we'll just have to live with it. I guess we have to fight and make sure that he does the right thing too. Not just let him do whatever he wants. Let's hope that people keep him in check, and they keep him in check in the State House, which I doubt, but we'll see. He can't be any worse than Kasich was in his first 4 years. Well, really his first 6 years. I think the last 2 have been different, but he can't be any worse than John Kasich was. He claims that he's for education, which I don't believe that for a second, because he's a Trump guy. So, and they don't care about public education. They only care about voucher schools and taking from public education, and their war on teachers. Because let's face it, it is a war on teachers. And that is so wrong. That's so wrong. So Mike DeWine's the governor. There's not much we can do about it. I'll tell you, one of the things that is upsetting to me is that Ron Young beat Dan Troy. Oh, that is, if any of these results could change, these last two are the ones that really bother me a lot. That Ron Young defeated Dan Troy for Lake County Commissioner. Dan Troy has done a great job as Lake County Commissioner. A change was not needed. I can't believe that this happened, but it did. And Dan Troy is out. Ron Young is in, and that's horrible. But as a local people, we have to hold Ron Young accountable now. We have to make sure that Ron Young does what's right for Lake County, not what Ron Young does right for Ron Young and his business friends. Okay. Those of us in Lake County have to make sure that Ron Young does the right thing now that he's our county commissioner. We can't just let this guy do whatever he wants. He needs to be held accountable. And if he doesn't do what's right for Lake County in the next 4 years of his term, then he needs to go. Okay? He needs to go. But do I have a lot of confidence he'll do the right thing? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think he'll do the right thing. Because he, from what I've been told, is a Trump Republican. And we don't need another Trump Republican in Lake County. It seems like Ohio really was messed up yesterday. Besides voting for Sherrod Brown, the rest of the state stuck with these Republican people who have done nothing for our state but hurt it, which is crazy to me. So, the fact that the next one on my list here, David Joyce. I cannot believe that David Joyce beat Betsy Rader. How many times does David Joyce have to vote against pre-existing conditions for voters in Ohio to understand that David Joyce is not for helping people with pre-existing conditions? David Joyce is against people with pre-existing conditions. David Joyce is in the pocket of health care, and you people fell right into the trap and believed the commercials at the end of the campaign, his blatant lies saying that he doesn't vote against pre-existing conditions when he does. He voted time and time again to repeal Obamacare, which is a vote to help the healthcare companies hold pre-existing conditions against you and not cover pre-existing conditions. That's what he did. David Joyce did it over and over again. And what did the Ohio voters do? They reelected the guy. Unbelievable. I really hope that none of you people that voted for David Joyce have pre-existing conditions. Because you know what? You're going to have to pay now. Because he doesn't care if you have a pre-existing condition. David Joyce is in the pocket of the healthcare companies, and he's going to vote against you, and he's going to laugh at you as he does it. And then he's going to tell you next time he runs, oh, I didn't vote against pre-existing conditions. I voted for it. And because he knows you'll fall for it again. We give you proof. Proof is put in front of you. and you don't care. You still vote for the guy. It makes 0 sense. People of the 14th District, you let us down. You let us down. Voting David Joyce back in. I sure hope it doesn't come back to bite you, because it just might. Hopefully it won't. Hopefully everyone has good health. But there's a good chance that some of you out there that voted for David Joyce might end up paying for your bad decision yesterday at the ballot box. It was a bad decision. Betsy Rader would have done the right thing. Dave Joyce does not do the right thing. Dave Joyce has lied every step of the way since he got in. And his lies work. I guess they work. I guess people fall for them. Because he won yesterday, which is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. Unbelievable that man got reelected. But there's nothing we can do about it now. He really has no power, though. But he'll still vote against pre-existing conditions in frivolous votes. The Republicans will have frivolous votes again where they can't do anything, but they'll hold a vote and waste money anyway. Let's be clear here. David Joyce is not Stephen LaTourette. David Joyce will never be Stephen LaTourette. And you Stephen LaTourette voters that are still voting for David Joyce, shame on you. Shame on you. Stephen LaTourette would not support what David Joyce has become. So if you are voting for David Joyce because you were loyal to Stephen LaTourette, that's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. He is not like Stephen LaTourette. Not in any way. Not in any way. Stephen LaTourette was fair and honest and voted for what was right. David Joyce does not. David Joyce is a liar. It really steams me that this guy got reelected. Steams me badly. But there's nothing we can do at this point. We're stuck with him. We're just stuck with just Dave for 2 more years. We really have to make an effort to get him out of there in 2 years. We really have to. Because he's going to be do nothing Dave for the next 2. That's how mad this guy really gets me mad. Really angers me. Because he's a fake. He is a fake. He has kissed Donald Trump's you-know-what since Donald Trump got elected. And he's a fake. Let's move on. Enough time spent on that guy. Well, Scott Walker lost in Wisconsin, which was nice. He was a hateful governor who his anti-union stance made him popular for a while and got him a lot of publicity. But I think his political career pretty much went down the tubes last night when he lost the governor's race in Wisconsin. And hopefully, we've seen the last of hateful Scott Walker, the Wisconsin governor, who hated every union, hated teachers. The guy can't deny he hates teachers. So good for the people of Wisconsin. They got rid of slimy Scott Walker. Because that's what he is. Slimy Scott Walker. Gone. Voted out. No longer will be the governor of Wisconsin come January 1st. Goodbye, Scott. Go home. Please don't come back. Please don't show your face again. You're a rotten man. You're horrible. I'm glad you're gone. Speaking of horrible and a rotten human being, well, I've been called the most horrible human being I ever met before. I have been. I guess when you speak your mind, that happens. But I don't wish bad things on people just because they aren't in the same income bracket, or they aren't the same color as me, or they speak a different language. Okay? There's a difference. But speaking of horrible, Lion Ted Cruz, which is the nickname that Donald Trump gave him, I don't call him Lion Ted. I'm not going to call him Lion Ted. I'm going to call him Puppet Ted, because that's what he's become. He's become a Trump puppet. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic what Ted Cruz has become. I mean, you almost see his legs and arms bouncing up and down as Donald Trump pulls the strings. You know, this is a guy that Donald Trump insulted his father, called his father a murderer, said that his father had something to do with the Kennedy assassination. Okay? He said his father had something to do with the Kennedy assassination. He said it. Trump said that Cruz's father had something to do with the Kennedy assassination. Okay? And Trump called Cruz's wife, Heidi, ugly. Called her ugly. Yet Cruz, wanting to get reelected and keep his power, kissed Trump's butt and barely kept his Senate seat last night. Beto O'Rourke gave him the run of his life. He almost won. He almost did. And I'm telling you something, we haven't heard the last of Beto O'Rourke. I think this guy is going to be a big player on the Democratic scene. I wouldn't even be surprised if he runs for president in 2020. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if he's well known enough to get the nomination, or if he could win in the general election. But I would not be surprised if Beto O'Rourke runs for president, because he almost won in Texas. He almost won in Texas. Doesn't get much redder than Texas. And he almost won. He barely lost to Ted Cruz. So there's something there with this guy. This is a guy we better watch. This is a guy that he is not going away. It was very interesting. He almost beat him. It was, I knew in the end that because Cruz had been around and his name recognition, and it was Texas, that Cruz would win. I felt deep in my heart that Cruz would win. I actually, when the night started, I thought it would have been a victory for O'Rourke if he was within 5 points of Ted Cruz. Well, I guess I wasn't a very much of an optimist, was I? Because he almost beat him. And, he lost to Ted Cruz by 223,042 votes. In Texas. Okay? In Texas. I don't know if I can make that point strong enough that he almost won a Senate seat. He's a Democrat. He almost won a Senate seat in Texas. Okay? Democrats don't win Senate seats in Texas. They just don't do it. Hasn't happened in a long time. But Beto O'Rourke almost beat Ted Cruz. You know, he came close. Oh, Ted Cruz had to be thinking last night, I might lose. But he didn't. And then Mitt Romney got elected to the Senate in Utah. Mitt Romney. Well, Mitt Romney ran for president in 2012 against Barack Obama. It's a hard-fought campaign. But the one thing I'll always say about Mitt Romney is Mitt Romney is a fair fighter. Mitt Romney might be, he might distort the truth a little bit, but Mitt Romney is a fair fighter. And I think Mitt Romney, deep down, wants to do the right thing. Is he a billionaire? Does he have interests in big business and money? Yeah, he does. But I think Mitt Romney is the wild card on the Republican side. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if Mitt Romney votes with the other Republicans or if he doesn't vote with the other Republicans. If he votes against Donald Trump. I don't think Mitt Romney's like Ted Cruz. Donald Trump insulted Mitt Romney horribly during the campaign. Horribly. Said horrible things about him. I don't think Mitt Romney is as forgiving as Ted Cruz. If I was in a foxhole with Mitt Romney and I was in a foxhole with Ted Cruz, I'd pick Mitt Romney any day because Mitt Romney knows what's right. I wouldn't have to pick Ted Cruz because he'd go running the other way. Okay? Because he's a sniveling coward. So, I think Mitt Romney is going to be that vote that Donald Trump is not sure of. I think Mitt Romney could be the new John McCain vote. I really think he could be. I really believe he could be. Because remember, yes, Mitt Romney ran against Barack Obama and railed against Obamacare. But that's because he wanted to take the job. He wanted to be president. But let's not forget that when Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, they passed health care. So one thing is for sure. Mitt Romney believes in health care for American people. And he is not going to vote with those other guys to take it away. I believe that. I honestly believe that. So I think that, well, it's not a Democratic pickup seat, in the truest sense, because it goes in the R column, helps them get the majority. But I think it actually does help. I think it's like getting a Democrat elected. Because I think he's going to vote against Donald Trump every chance he gets. One, because he morally knows it's right. And two, he's going to stick it to him. You got the McCain thumbs down. I think you might have the Romney thumbs down over and over again. That's just my thought. I could be dead wrong. Maybe I have more faith in him. Maybe I think he's a better human being than he is. But I have a feeling Mitt Romney's going to do what's right. in the 2 years remaining in Donald Trump's presidency. So I really think that. And then late today, after Donald Trump has a press conference where, of course, he insults reporters again, calls a woman reporter racist, and then he attacks Jim Acosta from CNN. Calls him names, and then he calls another reporter names and says, "I don't really like you either. I don't think much of you either." After the press conference, we find out he fired Jeff Sessions. He asked Jeff Sessions for his resignation, and Jeff Sessions started the letter of resignation with, "At your request," to make it clear to everyone that he didn't want to resign, that the president basically fired him. A lot of people are saying this is similar to the Saturday Night Massacre in the Nixon Watergate scandal. It's a slower process here, but it's very similar. He named Matthew G. Whitaker acting Attorney General. He's Attorney General, so he is in control of Rod Rosenstein, who is in charge of the Mueller investigation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Whitaker should recuse himself because of comments he made on CNN when he was an analyst on CNN. He should recuse himself from the investigation. We're going to see if he does. I highly doubt he will, though. I'm sure Trump spoke with him before and asked him, "Will you recuse yourself?" And I'm sure he told him no, because Trump liked what he said on CNN, and that's probably why he appointed him as acting Attorney General until another one can be confirmed by the new Congress sometime in January or February. So we'll see where that goes. It would be a death blow to the Republicans if Whitaker stopped the Mueller investigation. It would be a death blow to them, because what it would say is Trump is guilty and they don't want us to find out. That's what it would say. Let's see if Lindsey Graham actually stands by his word and wants the investigation to finish. We're going to find out. I have about as much faith in Lindsey Graham following through on his word as I do of waking up in the morning and there being a Cadillac Escalade in my yard for me to drive. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So we are out of time for tonight. We will be back tomorrow to just discuss some more issues, sports and politics, on the Lake County Sentinel Podcast. Thank you very much for joining in tonight, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.